When my mom snubbed my daughter at my nephew's birthday, I decided enough was enough. My name is Lauren Hayes. I'm 35, lead architect at a boutique firm in Portland, the one with the glass-walled studio overlooking the Willamette. On a crisp Saturday in early fall, the ranch outside the city smelled of fresh hay and barbecue smoke. My brother Garrett had turned his son Reed's 10th birthday into a full-blown rodeo carnival. Bounce house shaped like a saloon. Petting zoo with a miniature donkey named Pickles. Cotton candy machine spinning pink clouds into paper cones. Kids screamed with joy. Adults nursed beers under string lights. I arrived with Harper, my 8-year-old, clutching a handmade card she'd spent 3 evenings perfecting. A pop-up barn with glitter horses that actually neighed when you pulled the tab. Mom stood at the dessert table, apron tied over her new linen dress, slicing into a 3-tiered chocolate cake shaped like a cowboy boot. She handed thick wedges to every child in line. Reed first, then Daisy, the neighbor twins, even the toddler who'd smeared frosting on Pickle's nose. Harper stood on tiptoes, eyes shining. Mom reached her, paused, and said loud enough for the picnic tables to hear, "You don't get any. This party is for real family." The yard went dead. Harper's lower lip trembled. Laughter rippled. Anyway, Dad's deep chuckle, Garrett's snort, Aunt Lisa's cackle, the neighbors joining in like it was the punchline of the year. I felt the heat crawl up my neck, but I smiled. Small, deliberate, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. I took Harper's hand, walked to the table myself, cut the corner piece with extra frosting and rainbow sprinkles, and sat with her on the porch steps. She ate in silence, tears mixing with chocolate. What I did next would leave them all speechless. Drop the city and state you're watching from in the comments. What would you have done? I grew up in that same ranch house. The one with the porch that creaked like an old saddle and the barn that smelled of linseed oil and horse sweat. My brother Garrett was the son the family orbited. At 6, he won a blue ribbon at the county fair for a lopsided birdhouse hammered together from scrap plywood. Mom framed the photo above the fireplace and told the story at every holiday dinner. I was 8 when I built a scale model of the Portland skyline out of balsa wood, hot glue, and coffee stirrers I'd collected from every cafe on Hawthorne. I carried it to the dinner table like it was the Stanley Cup. Dad glanced over his steak. Fork paused midair. Cute hobby, Lauren. Garrett's birdhouse brought in actual bids from the feed store. Mom added, priorities. Honey, help your brother with his spelling words. I learned early. Garrett's efforts were gold. Mine were glitter that got swept under the fridge. The micro injustices stacked like unpaid invoices. Garrett got a dirt bike for his 12th birthday, cherry red, engine growling like a chained coyote. I got hand-me-down boots, 2 sizes too big, soles flapping when I walked to the bus stop. He flunked algebra sophomore year. Dad hired a tutor who charged $80 an hour. I aced calculus. Mom said, good. Now scrub the baseboards before company comes. Weekends meant chores for me. Mucking stalls until my shoulders burned. Patching fence line in July heat. Hauling 50-pound feed sacks while Garrett practiced roping calves for the junior rodeo circuit. Relatives cooed over his trophies lined up on the mantle like soldiers. My sketches of sustainable tiny homes, the ones with living roofs and rainwater catchment, gathered dust in a shoebox under my bed. Aunt Lisa once found one, held it up to the light, and said, "Looks like a chicken coop, sweetheart. Stick to helping your dad." Grandma Evelyn saw me. She lived in a cedar-shingled cottage 20 minutes down the gravel road, the one with the drafting table positioned under a skylight that caught the afternoon sun. Every Sunday after church, I biked over, knees pumping, sketchbook strapped to my back with bungee cords. She'd brew chamomile tea in a pot painted with tiny blue forget-me-nots and spread my drawings across the table like treasure maps. "These lines breathe, Lauren," she'd say, tapping a cantilevered roof that hovered over a courtyard garden. She'd been an architect too, back when women wore pencil skirts and hard hats and still got asked to fetch coffee. Retired at 65, she consulted on green builds for nonprofits. Pro bono. One afternoon when I was 15, she slid a manila envelope across the table, the paper thick and official. "College fund," she whispered, eyes darting to the window like someone might be listening. "Don't tell your parents. They'll spend it on Garrett's next saddle or a bigger flat screen." Inside, $250,000 in a trust. Accessible only to me at 21. Managed by a lawyer in Salem. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. She squeezed my hand, calluses rough from years of T-squares and tracing paper. "Build something that lasts, kiddo. Something they can't take." I kept the secret like a second skin. At 18, I enrolled at Oregon State Architecture program, full merit scholarship plus the trust. I told my parents the scholarship covered tuition, room, board, everything. They nodded, distracted by Garrett's latest rodeo win, a bronze buckle the size of a dinner plate. I graduated top of my class, landed the Portland firm, and started funneling trust money into a side LLC I named Hayes Green Designs. I bought distressed lots in up-and-coming neighborhoods. Albina, St. John's, flipped them into net-zero homes with solar shingles and gray water systems. By 30, the LLC was worth $1.8 million, all under my name, invisible to the family ledger. I kept the ranch mortgage payments going, $3,200 monthly from my salary, labeled family support in the memo line. Mom started calling it rent for the childhood bedroom I hadn't slept in since college. Garrett moved back after his divorce, bringing Reed and Daisy. The kids took my old room. I crashed on the couch during holidays, waking to the smell of Garrett's protein shakes and Daisy's glitter glue. Mom upgraded the kitchen the year Harper turned 4. Quartz counters, sub-zero fridge, a wine cooler that hummed like a beehive. She claimed equity improvements for resale value. Dad bought a new F350 Platinum, lifted chrome rims catching the sunrise. Garrett installed a $12,000 home gym in the barn, power rack, rubber flooring, mirrored walls, a neon sign that read grind. I kept paying, kept quiet, kept building. Every first of the month, the auto draft hit my account like a metronome. I'd watch the transaction clear and feel the old ache. The one that started with the birdhouse and the boots. Red flags waved like pennants at a used car lot. Mom posted Instagram stories from spa retreats in Bend, mud masks, champagne flutes, captions about self-care Sundays. Dad's watch collection grew. Rolex Submariner Tog Awear Carrera, each one flashed at family barbecues like a dare. Garrett's truck got lifted higher, tires the size of tractor wheels. Harper noticed first at 6. She asked why Aunt Daisy got a Shetland pony named Buttercup and she got a second-hand bike with streamers fraying at the ends. I smiled tight. Different budgets, kiddo. But the math didn't add up. My firm's CFO, a numbers wizard named Priya, ran a quick audit on the ranch LLC at my request. I gave her access to the joint account I'd been wiring money into for 8 years. Result: $420,000 in unexplained withdrawals over 5 years. Routed 2 personal accounts labeled maintenance, barn upgrades, family expenses. Receipts attached: $28,000 for the barn's built-in kegerator and 85-inch TV. $9,800. For Mom's diamond tennis bracelet, $6,200 for Garrett's custom cowboy hat with turquoise inlay. I saved the report, printed 3 copies, locked them in a fire safe under my desk at the studio. Said nothing. The birthday party was the breaking point. Reed turned 10. The ranch overflowed. Bounce house petting zoo. Catered barbecue from the food truck that usually parked at the Saturday market. I arrived with Harper, her pop-up card clutched like a shield. Mom took it, glanced inside, set it on a shelf behind dusty riding boots and a broken spur. Harper's face fell. I squeezed her shoulder. Games began. Daisy won the sack race. Mom announced over the microphone. Pure Hayes grit. Harper tripped on the starting line, scraped her knee on gravel. Mom handed Daisy a juice box, ignored Harper's tears. Pony rides. Reed circled the paddock on a painted gelding named Thunder. Harper reached for the reins. Garrett intercepted. Boots aren't broken in yet. Stick to the goats, kid. Harper obeyed, stroking a lamb while watching her cousin trot past, braid flying. Cake time. The cowboy boot masterpiece sparkled under string lights, fondant spurs gleaming. Mom cut generous squares, passing them down the kids' table. Harper stood on tiptoes, eyes wide. Mom reached her, paused, and said, "You don't get any. This party is for real, family." Laughter rippled, Dad's deep chuckle, Garrett's snort, Aunt Lisa's cackle, the neighbors joining in like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all year. Harper's plate stayed empty. I felt the room tilt. My daughter's humiliation, public, deliberate, served with extra frosting for everyone else. I smiled, slow, razor thin, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes, grabbed Harper's hand, and walked to the dessert table myself. Cut the corner, piece, extra frosting, rainbow sprinkles, sat with her on the porch steps. She ate in silence, tears mixing with chocolate. Inside, voices carried through the screen door. Mom to Garrett. She shouldn't even be here, draining us for years. Garrett laughed. Time to up the rent. The ranch is worth $2 million now. I pulled out my phone, hit record, 20 seconds of audio, crystal clear. Saved, backed up, emailed to my lawyer, Mia Chen. That night, Harper asleep in the guest room under a quilt Mom had bought with my mortgage money. I opened the audit file, $420,000 missing, plus the $3,200 monthly I'd sent for 8 years, $307,200 total. I forwarded everything to Mia. Subject, embezzlement plus child endangerment leverage. Mia replied at 2:14 a.m. We own them. Plan. The revenge phase had been simmering for 3 years. A slow burn blueprint I drafted in the margins of my life while the rest of the family partied on stolen equity. It started the week after Harper's 7th birthday. When I opened the trust statement, Grandma Evelyn had mailed me in a plain white envelope with no return address. Balance $1,420,000. A sticky note in her spidery handwriting, for your firm. Not their feed bills. I photographed every page, uploaded them to an encrypted drive accessible only by facial recognition, and called Mia Chen, my college roommate turned corporate litigator who once sued a vineyard for poisoning a creek. We met for coffee at a Pearl District cafe with exposed brick-and baristas who drew ferns in latte foam. I need a war chest, I told her, sliding the trust summary across the table. She didn't blink. Shell LLC, blind trust, and a forensic accountant who owes me a favor. Done by Monday. We formed Willamette Holdings LLC, registered in Delaware for maximum opacity. Officers listed as manager LH Trust. I transferred $800,000 from the inheritance in tranches, small enough to avoid suspicion. Mia's accountant, Raj Patel, traced every dollar I'd wired to the ranch account, $3,200 monthly for 8 years. $307,200 total. He flagged $420,000 in maintenance withdrawals that bought Mom's Tesla Model Y, Dad's F350 Platinum, Garrett's $12,000 home gym, and a $28,000 barn renovation that was actually a built-in 85-inch TV and a neon sign that read "Grind in Electric Blue." Raj compiled a 42-page report, bank statements, wire confirmations, Venmo screenshots of Garrett paying his ex's alimony with my mortgage money. Even a PayPal invoice for Daisy's $800 cowboy boots labeled equine therapy. I printed 3 copies on thick ivory paper, bound them with black metal clips, locked them in a fire safe under my desk at the studio. The safe required a 6-digit code and my thumbprint. I chose Harper's birthday. Phase 2, the ranch itself. The 2022 housing crash left the bank desperate to unload non-performing loans. Dad had missed 3 payments. The loan was in default. Balance $1,680,000. I had Raj pose as a commercial buyer and request the payoff statement. Market value $2.1 million. I offered $1,750,000 cash through Willamette Holdings, contingent on a 30-day close and no disclosures to current occupants. The bank bit like a trout on a fly. Dad signed the seller packet without reading past the first page, thinking it was a refinance to lower the interest rate. Title transferred October 14, 2023. Recorded at the county clerk at 2:47 p.m. I kept paying rent to maintain the illusion. $3,200 auto-drafted to Garrett's account every first of the month. He never noticed the payee had changed to Willamette Holdings LLC. Account ending in 5,591. I had the bank statements to prove it. Phase 3. The audio. I bought a Zoom H5 recorder the size of a deck of cards, clipped it inside Harper's stuffed giraffe named Mr. G, and brought it to every family event. Reed's 8th birthday. Mom bragging about using Lauren's rent for Daisy's boots. Christmas Eve. Dad joking he'd invest my January payment in a crypto coin called Ranch Coin. $3,200 gone in 48 hours. Easter brunch, Garrett on speakerphone to his buddy. Lauren's basically our ATM. Keep her scared, keep the cash. I had 47 clips, time-stamped, GPS tagged, backed up to iCloud, Google Drive, and a thumb drive hidden in Harper's toy chest. Each file named with date and keyword. The 24th of December, 2023 _Garrett _ATM.mp3.phase. 4. The leverage stack. Mia filed a quiet title action in Multnomah County, claiming adverse possession, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. She attached Grandma Evelyn's trust, explicitly excluding Garrett and my parents from ranch inheritance. Raj's forensic report, the 47 audio files. Bank records showing $420,000 embezzled. My $307,200 in fraudulent rent payments. And a child endangerment angle. Mom's public humiliation of Harper as evidence of emotional abuse. The judge granted a lis pendens, a lien freezing any sale or refinance until the case resolved. My parents got the notice in the mail and used it to line the cat's litter box. Phase 5. The birthday trigger. Reed's 10th. I knew Mom would escalate. Harper was the perfect target. I pre-positioned the recorder in Mr. G, parked in the petting zoo next to Pickles. When Mom skipped Harper's cake slice and announced, "This party is for real family," the mic caught every syllable. Every laugh, every neighbor's gasp, even the squeak of the bounce house in the background. I had Mia on speed dial. Text sent at 3:47 p.m. Execute. She replied with a single emoji, a gavel. Phase 6, Thanksgiving detonation. I rented a projector under the guise of showing Harper's school slideshow about sustainable treehouses. 70 relatives crammed around picnic tables, draped in red and white plaid for the holiday. Dad carved the turkey with the electric knife that hummed like a dentist drill. Mom passed gravy boats thick as molasses. Garrett bragged about Reed's rodeo scholarship to Montana State. I arrived with Harper in an emerald coat I'd designed myself. Wool blend, hidden pockets for her colored pencils. Conversation hushed when Mia walked in behind us. Briefcase wheels rattling on gravel. Heels sharp as drafting pens. I stood at the head of the table. "Before we eat, a quick presentation." Garrett smirked, mouth full of roll. "Rent hike time." Laughter rippled again. I nodded to Mia. She placed the deed on the table. Thick parchment, my name in bold calligraphy. "This property now belongs to Hayes Green Designs, LLC. Lauren is sole owner." Silence. Dad's knife froze, mid-slice, turkey juice pooling. Mom's gravy boat trembled, brown rivers running over the edge. Garrett's face went the color of skim milk. Mia continued, voice calm as a CAD rendering. "You've collected $307,200 in fraudulent rent, plus $420,000 embezzled from family funds intended for Lauren's education and business." She played the birthday audio on a portable Bose speaker. Mom's voice at 012. "You don't get any. This party is for real family." Harper's sniffle in the background. Gasps. Aunt Lisa dropped her roll. It rolled under the table like a runaway wheel. Slide 4. IRS Form 3949A. Whistleblower report already filed. Reward up to 30% of recovered taxes. Dad's fork clattered. Garrett stood, face purple. Mia served eviction notices, 30 days to vacate, per Oregon law, printed on heavy cream stock. Aunt Lisa tried to argue. Mia handed her a cease and desist for slander. She'd called me a greedy bitch on the family group chat. Screenshot included. Timestamped. Phase 7. The fire sale. I listed the ranch at $2.1 million the next day. Photos staged with wildflowers in mason jars and Harper's treehouse sketches framed on the barn wall. Cash offer from a tech couple relocating from San Francisco. $2,250,000. 21-day close. Dad begged for a lease back. I countered $8,800 month, triple net 1-year term, non-negotiable. Same price they'd joked about charging me. He signed, thinking he'd refinance with Garrett's rodeo connections. The new owners refused to honor it. Dad, Mom, Garrett, kids, out by December 31st. I watched them load U-Hauls in the rain. Garrett's gym equipment stacked in the drizzle like sad iron, the neon grind sign flickering in a puddle. Phase 8, the aftermath sting. Mia filed a civil suit for $727,200, $307 K. Rent plus $420,000 embezzled. Judgment entered in February. Default, no defense filed. Garnishment hit Dad's forklift paycheck at the Portland warehouse. 25% gone, $418 every 2 weeks. Mom's Avon sales, $180. Week before taxes, mascara smudged from tears. Garrett's rodeo sponsorships vanished when the audio leaked to the local paper, anonymously, of course, under the headline, Ranch Royalties Cake Gate. He took a job mucking stalls at the stable where Reed once rode for free. $14 hour, manure included, same shovel I'd used at 16. I kept the ranch 1 month, hosted Harper's 9th birthday there, bounce house, petting zoo, triple layer chocolate cake with buttercream roses. Every child got a slice, extra frosting, no questions. Harper blew out candles shaped like tiny houses. I gifted her a junior drafting set, T-square, triangles, the works. Grandma Evelyn's portrait hung above the fireplace now. Her eyes following the room like she approved. Hayes Green Designs boomed. The ranch sale funded a downtown studio, glass walls, living roof, Harper's play corner with a mini drafting table and a tray of colored pencils, sharp enough to draw blood. Salary hit $180,000, bonuses tied to lead certifications, platinum on the last 3 projects. Mia proposed on the studio balcony at sunset. Ring a recycled gold band with a bezel set sapphire, the color of the Willamette, at dusk. Harper called her Aunt Mia before the question was out, jumping up and down so hard the balcony shook. Peace settled like fresh snow on the roof garden. No more Sunday guilt trips. No more family support texts. At 2 a.m., Harper asks sometimes why Grandma Evelyn doesn't visit. I tell her the truth. Some people choose smallness. We choose skylines. We choose houses that breathe, families that don't steal, cake for every kid at the table. Your worth is yours to define. Thank you for walking this ranch road with me, from the boots that didn't fit to the studio that finally does. What would you have done the moment the cake was skipped? Drop your city and state below. Let's see how far justice travels.